All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to let people continue to come in, but let's get started. Well, I'm glad everyone's doing great. Glad we had a minute to visit together. Just want to remind you of a couple different things. We actually have our December promo still going on. Oops, hold on. My bad. We have our December promo going on. And just to remind you what that is, when you buy 200 PV of product, you'll receive a free sling bag, a free mask, ACTIVZ mask and sling bag, as well as a free metal water bottle. Any order over 50 PV will get a free bottle of Genomics as well. So keep that, write that down, share that with your teams. I'm going to toss it back over to Angie for just a couple minutes. We want to announce the winners of our Arrow coaching raffle. So Angie, take it away.
All right, thank you, Dale. Okay, so last week we did our fun little raffle where we had the spinning wheel of fortune and it announced names, but we just wanted to make sure that we announce those names again. So for the English raffle, we had Vivian Aviles, Janet Dominguez, Coco Gonzalez, which I didn't realize that it was Coco Gonzalez when we first announced her name. We also had Pedro Ibarra Solis, Juanita Ibarra, and those were our 5 English raffle winners. So we are reaching out to each one of you to make sure that the people feel comfortable with having the coaching in Sinead Irwin, which would be in English. If you feel more comfortable in Spanish, we will allow you guys to have coaching with Annette Jimenez. But those were our 5 English raffle winners. And Coco, congratulations. I know that I think Coco's the only one on the call right now that were our English winners, but we are very excited to have the coaching with Sinead. I know that David's wife has been doing coaching with Sinead. So David, I don't know if you can maybe give some insight as to how that's going with Anna and maybe give some encouragement for those people that are having coaching.
Well, they've had their initial consultation, and I've spoken with Anna, of course, about it, but also with Sinead yesterday. And the good news is they both like each other. That's always a good start when you do something like that. And then I think Anna's excited to move forward and work with Sinead, and Sinead's also excited about working with those that qualified and those that by virtue of the raffle or by virtue of their what they did last month. And so and we're going to look for ways to expand this program going forward. This is not just going to be a one-shot deal. So she's excited. I can tell you that her approach is, I think, going to be very effective and very holistic in nature. And in addition to that, I was talking with Dr. Brett Earle. And Dr. Earle is also going to be talking and working with Sinead. It's very interesting for a medical doctor who's been overcoming a lot of issues which really led him into functional medicine as opposed to being an ER doc. But some of the things that he struggled with and gotten on top of have nevertheless kind of messed his metabolism up a little bit and caused him to put on more weight than he likes to have. And so as we were talking about Sinead and he's met her and spoken with her in the past, he said, I want to work with Sinead. I want to get an outside perspective, which in my experience is a very unique thing for an MD to want to go outside and say, I'll talk to somebody who's not an MD or has certain initials after their names. And so I think it really was a great compliment to Sinead and how she's thought of. So I think everybody's going to have a great experience.
Very good. And then we also had one runner-up. So it looks like one of our English raffle winners has selected to do the raffle in Spanish. So we did a runner-up, which is Howard Prather. So he was the runner-up for the English raffle winner to be working with Sinead. Again, we'll be reaching out we have reached out to each of the qualifiers by phone or by email. Once we have a set as to who's going to be doing the English training with Sinead, then we'll be reaching out to you again and just setting up the time. We'll do a group Zoom consultation first, just to introduce all of the raffle winners. And then we will allow Sinead to contact you individually and set up your personalized coaching. So the coaching is for 30 days. With your coaching, you will also receive your 30-day sample of Arrow so that you can be using Arrow as you're doing the coaching with Sinead. So really excited for you. We hope that you keep a detailed log as to how the coaching goes, what you're experiencing when you're using Arrow. And we also have some exciting news about Arrow as well. So we've sent our first samples out in Mexico. We are getting our samples in the US, but we've sent the first samples out. So anyone that enrolled 5 people in the month of November in all of our countries received a 30-day supply of Arrow. So in Mexico, we've already shipped our samples to those winners. They've received it and they're starting to take it. So we're starting to get some really good feedback from the people that are starting to try the product and take the product. For the US, we're getting our samples. They're not quite made yet, but we're hoping to be shipping those sometime next week. So again, anyone that enrolled 5 people or more in the month of November, you're going to be getting your 30-day supply. But also if you were one of the raffle winners with the coaching, you're also going to receive a 30-day supply of the product. So we're really excited to have people trying the product, starting to get some testimonials and some good use out of it. And I'm excited to start trying the product myself. So Dale, I'm going to turn the time back over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Angie. And congrats again to those guys. I mean, this is some fantastic stuff. I was part of the tasting process for Arrow just to see if we got our flavor right. And to that point, it's coming along. I'm really excited to see what they've done with it. It's been a little bit since I've had the chance to check in with that. All right, we're gonna toss it over to Stu now. I want to give him some time to share some thoughts with us.
Thanks, Dale. Thanks, Angie, and congratulations once again for all those who won the raffle to start the Arrow sampling. But kind of going along with the topic of coaching, I come with a little heavy heart this morning because one of our younger coaches on our football team here in Hawaii that we're very close to, his son and my daughter are in the same grade, they grew up together. He just passed away a couple of days ago. And so it's been tough on the community, tough on a lot of people who have been close to him. But the thought always came to us that was shared over these past couple of days to the point where it's not how long you live, but how you live that matters the most. And the more important you live your life and the more important and how you affect others makes it even tougher when someone, a great man like our coach, passed away. So I encourage everyone on this call, and for those on this call are coaches, because you're leaders. You're able to influence a lot of people in your downline, and you have a lot of influence on what you say and what you do. And the best leaders and the best coaches are able to get the most out of their players, the most out of people in their downline. And so I just ask everyone to smile a little bit more, laugh a little bit more, love a little bit more, especially during these holiday seasons, because we don't know when it's our time, but we know that the impact that we will leave will influence a lot of people for many generations to come. So I just encourage everyone to love their wife, their husband, their kids, their nephews, their nieces, your downline, your group, those that you work with, because we just never know when we'll see them again. And I'm glad I get to see everyone here. And I'm sorry for bringing the heavy heart to this conversation, but nonetheless, I think it's appropriate that we are leaders, we are influencers to those that we are responsible for within our family, first off, and then of course in our ACTIVZ family. And so I just glad that I get to be a part of a bigger family outside of my immediate family. So with that, Dale, I'll turn it back to you.
I remember it said once that leaders are given a special opportunity to love more than any other time in their life. And so I think I speak for everyone when I say that we stand by you. We understand that we might not be able to fully understand, but we do stand with you and we love you. All right. couple other things, and then we're going to jump back and forth with a couple thoughts from David and Ryan to close out. Want to remind everyone we have Active Schools going on this Saturday at 9 a.m. Write that down, set an alarm, put it in your calendar, put it on a sticky note, stick it to your forehead, stick it to your mirror, whatever you have to do to make sure that you remember this Saturday, 9 a.m. Active Schools. We have an awesome lineup coming up. These are some people that know their stuff and that want to share what their experience has taught them in the best way that we have to go forward with, oh, sorry, Gil, let me specify. That is 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Okay, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I have to remember, this isn't just Utah we're talking about. Yeah, make sure you get that down. Remember it whenever you can, and spread the word with your teams as well. This is something that some really good, really smart people come together to discuss really important techniques for you guys. So make sure that you even share that. This is for you. And these guys want to invest in you and in your success. That's huge. So let's get a good turnout this coming Saturday.
And on Saturday, so just to add a little bit more detail on this. So our speakers for Saturday are, we're going to have a dual combination with Paige Gimbel and Jerry Scrivener. So Paige is an A10, Jerry is an A8 in the company. They have been in network marketing for several years. So the knowledge that they bring to the industry and what they can teach you is going to be absolutely amazing. So Paige and Jerry are going to go over how to tell your story and then how to use your story to invite people. So this will be a really good one for anyone that has issues with trying to figure out how to tell your story, or even with how to invite people. This is going to be a really good presentation for you guys to jump in. Really good to learn some tips and tricks that maybe you didn't think of that you can use to build your business. And then we have A10 Claudia Valdez, and she is going to do a presentation on back to the basics. So we're really excited. Claudia has been rank advancing very quickly this year. She's been growing her business like crazy, working in 3 or 4 different markets. So she has a lot of experience in getting back to the basics and growing her organization. And then we have a special guest speaker, which David spoke about earlier, Dr. Brett Earl. So Dr. Brett Earl will be joining as our guest speaker. And when you think Dr. Brett Earl, you're going to be thinking like science presentation, but Dr. Earl actually has done a lot of training in like business building tips and in different I believe he's done like personality training as well. So he's going to be doing, he's not going to do a science presentation since it is Active Schools. He's going to be doing more of a business presentation and giving you some tips and tricks on building your business. So again, as Dale said, 9 a.m. Mountain Time on Saturday. We have really great guest speakers. We want everyone to join. We've created images that have been posted in WhatsApp groups and then also on Facebook. So grab those images, make sure you share with your team. This is not just for distributors. If you have a prospect that is really close of signing up, you can go ahead and have them join. It's on our normal Zoom number, the 477-444-4321. So really easy for us to communicate what number we're using. So make sure that you share it with everyone, and let's get a bunch of people on this Saturday. So Dale, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Angie. Okay, up next, I want to remind everybody that our Monday, Wednesday, Friday call schedule is still going forward. It's the last nightly calls until the new year. So you're going to want to put these on your calendar as well. That's 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Wednesday, we have Dean Haymore, and Monday, we have Jerry Scrivener. And I believe Friday, Angie, do we have any news on who we have invited out to Friday?
No, but we will have someone for the product overview on Friday. It's going to be a surprise, so join in on Friday and we'll just surprise you as to who's going to be speaking, but I'm sure we'll get someone great to do the product overview.
Fantastic. All right, last thing, want to let everyone know, and this is important for your teams as well, so make sure this gets shared out there too. The call center is actually going to be closed on Christmas Day, not Christmas Eve, just Christmas Day, and January 1st, New Year's Day. So jot that down and spread it out amongst your teams, WhatsApp, whatever you got to do to make sure everyone is aware.
And we'll be extending our hours on December 31st. So we'll be working until 6 p.m. Mountain on the 31st to help you close the month. And then if you guys have any issues with closing, please call us on Monday, which would be January 4th, and we'll make sure we get you guys taken care of since we are closing on the 1st. But again, the extended hours on December 31st until 6 p.m. Mountain. So we'll be sure that we get you guys taken care of.
Awesome. Okay, I mean, that's all that I have on my list. Angie, if you have any other comments.
No other comments from me.
All right.
Hey, I've got a comment from me, and then we've got a comment from David, I'm sure, as well. So
Yep.
why don't I just jump in?
Go for it.
Sorry, I had to take a call. Dale, great job hosting this morning. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see your smiling faces. Gil, I was spying on your conversation earlier. I will expect some of that figgy pudding from you as well once you get your figs back. Hey, I had just a quick thought to share with everybody. The announcements are important. I want to underscore the importance of the active school again. I'll be the third person to talk about it. Just from the perspective of this is not only for the people that are on this phone, invite guests, right? We used to encourage people to always bring guests to trainings, not just distributors. Yes, it's distributor training, but if you have a guest on one of these trainings, there is a very high probability and likelihood that they're going to be getting involved, right? Because it's a lot of information, a lot of great information. So make sure that you don't let this opportunity go by without really packing the house on a Saturday morning. I think that a lot of people are in the habit of making excuses because it's December and we say, oh, there's, holiday preparation going on and this and that. And I think that there's some truth to that, but there's also some fiction to that. A lot of people have their Saturday mornings available, right? Where maybe they're sleeping or doing something else. This is a good opportunity to plant seeds that you're going to be able to harvest here in a couple of months as you work through the holiday seasons. Yesterday evening, I was on a Zoom with an A10 in Mexico City and her whole team, and well, not her whole team, but a good portion of the team, about 30 people. And her name is Carla Lopez, and she's got very young children. She's a stay-at-home mom right now. She's, she used to work for Carlos Slim, one of the wealthiest people in the world in Mexico, was the wealthiest man in the world at one point in time. I guess it always depends on where the stock market is at any given time, but she has a master's and she has a PhD in systems engineering. And she left all of that to start her own ACTIVZ business, and she left it because she was never seeing her kids. She and her husband wanted to have a family, and it was virtually impossible. And the way they do it in Mexico is oftentimes if you have a job like that, you're in the office for 12 hours a day, 10 to 12 to 13 or 14 hours a day. And so she's doing a great job. She's an active, she's an A10. And I asked them yesterday, I said, so should we suspend our boot camp next week, right? It would be the 22nd, right? And I was kind of just asking them what their plans were. If they thought that this is, that they're going to take the week off, or since it's 2 days before Christmas Eve, they celebrate on the 24th of December in Mexico. And they all shook their head and said, no, we're working straight through. Like, we have high goals, lofty goals. A lot of people have these they're going for their personal best this month. And so I was really pleased and gratified to hear that. And I started to think about, we talked about, some of the best lessons about building a business have a lot to do with what you do during the holidays when everybody else is taking them off. The greatest growth that I've ever seen that occurs over the course of a year usually is in the spring and the fall. So starting March, April, May, June, and then it picks up again in the fall. And that's typically when companies do the best as well. But what gets them to grow so well then? It's not that all of a sudden there's all these people working in the spring. It has a lot to do with the few people who worked hard during the winter months, and their harvest is the spring, right? Somebody once compared it to a rubber band. right? Stretching back that rubber band. So in November, December, January, you're stretching that rubber band back. And the more you work, the farther back you stretch it and you let it go. And, you know, the distance is really going to be determined based in how well you do in the subsequent spring month on how much you worked in the winter month. So the alternative to that in some cases is starting over. And so I just want to put that out there. I thought that was a great coaching principle back when I first heard it. Think about that rubber band, and the way you stretch that rubber band is you make plans, you calendar things. You make sure that your team has things scheduled. You have presentations scheduled. You have opportunity presentations scheduled. You have training scheduled. You have those things scheduled. And you know, I'm not saying you do it during Christmas or New Year's Eve or anything like that, but you make sure that you are making plans, right? Your team needs to see that. If your team doesn't see that happening, your team will likely check out. And I say that just based on a few years of experience of having done this. The last thing that I wanted to share has to do with a training that evidently took place this last week with Eric Worre. And I had a lot of people in my boot camps this week that talked about that. And I've been a little bit on a little bit of a Dale Carnegie kick this month. I think those of you that do boot camps with me know that we've been talking a lot about that. And you know, Dale Carnegie, he wrote How to Make Friends and Influence People, I think in 1936. It was right around or just before World War II. It really it wasn't a book that was born yesterday. But the principles in it are amazingly applicable to today. And one of the things that we talked a lot about, that I've been talking a lot about, and that we talked about yesterday in these boot camps, I wanted to share with all of you, is the concept of storytelling. And this is something that was reinforced over the weekend with Eric Worre, and just, you know, he delivered this whole dissertation on telling your story. And those of you that attended, you'll know what I'm talking about. So here's what I wanted to share with you. Sometimes we talk about getting your story, right? We know that the most powerful tool that you will ever have to build your own business, it's not a video, it's not a scientific document, it's not a website, right? It's not an app, it is your own story. That is the tool that you need, your own story. So here's what I want to put out there. We spend time talking about that. How do you develop a story? Well, you go and you find the things that maybe you don't think are really important, but they serve as bridges for someone else to identify with, right? So you tell your story in such a way that creates that relatability. Here's what I would counsel everybody and encourage you to do this month of December. Read Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People if you haven't already done it, if you're not already doing it, or listen to it on YouTube. It's free. You can listen to it in whichever language you want to listen to. I found it in lots of different languages, and you can just listen to the audio if you're not big into reading. But do this also. Think about the entire ACTIVZ presentation, how you talk about the products, how you talk about how to make money, how you talk about the opportunity, how you talk about the scientists, how you talk about the science, how you talk about the founding of ACTIVZ, how you talk about the story of ACTIVZ, but from the perspective of what is the story of each one of those, and better yet, what is your story around each one of those? So don't just tell a story about the science. Tell your story as it relates to that science. Don't just tell a story about the formulators. What is your story as it relates to those formulators? Don't just talk about how to make money. What is your story as it relates to how to make money with ACTIVZ? The reason why I say that is that's how you do this business, right? This is a storytelling business, and it's not just your story at the beginning and then you go into a dissertation on products and opportunity and then comp plan. I think that you'll find that the most successful and highest paid independent contractors, entrepreneurs in the direct selling industry, when they talk, they're always telling a story. And it's not limited to this industry. I have a quote that I just wanted to share with you to close. And it says, the highest paid person in the first half of this century, will be the storyteller. All professionals, including advertisers, teachers, entrepreneurs, politicians, athletes, and religious leaders, will be valued for their ability to create stories that will captivate their audience. So I just want to maybe go back to the basics here. My little tip for the week is go back to the basics and think about not just your story, but your story as it relates to each section or category of the ACTIVZ presentation. And as you do that, you'll definitely sharpen your saw, and I promise you will have better results. People remember stories. They remember how you make them feel. They never remember the facts. So make sure that we're going back and following that advice from Dale Carnegie and all the other greats. And that said, David, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Great stuff. Well, there's been kind of a coaching theme to this. Starting out, and Stu, we were all touched by the story of that. Sounds like a pretty young father passing away, but it is touching to know that he made such a great difference in his relatively short time here upon the earth. And it is a great message for us all to remember that we all have the ability to touch lives for good or for bad, and we probably would be surprised at how far our influence extends. We might think it's primarily amongst our close friends and family members, but really, and Dale Carnegie is the one that will talk about this a lot, is that how far your influence can extend. One of my favorite stories, I haven't read that book in a long time, but I remember one of my favorite stories from that book. And Griselda, she's right into it, so she might be able to correct the facts if I get this wrong. But in his book, he tells a story about being at a party and meeting a young woman who, if I remember the details correctly, was not probably he wasn't the type of guy that she would probably normally talk to, but they struck up a conversation. And he comments on the fact that he hardly said anything during the conversation. He was just listening to her and showing interest. But afterwards, he overheard her telling others, how impressed that she was with him and what a great conversation they had and everything. And his point was that you can really make a great influence if you just listen to other people and show interest in them. And I think that's great advice all the way around. I received some words and some goals from people like Brian and Jerry and others over the weekend as a result, I think, of the Eric Worre conference, and people setting goals and letting others know about what they are and be and holding them accountable. I got to tell you that sometimes I've had a bad attitude about so-called experts like Eric Worre and others. And let me tell you why. The reason for that is I think, well, they just say the same thing to everybody. It's always the same thing. But you know what? As I was thinking about, as I was listening to Ryan and Stu and others today, I thought, you know what? The principles, the basics that Eric Worre talks about are real. I believe them. I think he gives good information. And if you really think about, what does a good coach do? I had great coaches in high school. They say the same thing every day. If a young man or young woman who's involved in sports and wants to get better says, I'm not going to go to practice today because the coach is just going to tell me the same thing that he told me yesterday or she told me yesterday. It's probably true. They're going to say, work on defense. This is how you work on offense. And they're going to say the same things basically every practice. You're going to do, there might be a little wrinkle here to help you improve a skill, but overall, they're not going to change what they say from practice to practice to practice. The same thing is true of if you ask Elon Musk about his story about how he's been successful at Tesla and other places. His story is not going to change. He's going to tell you, this is what I did. And this is what I recommend you do. And it's going to be the same whether you ask him today or ask him 5 years from now, which isn't to say he won't have more experiences. And so I think sometimes we check out because we think, well, it's just going to be the same thing. I'm not going to get on the weekly call. I'm not going to go to ACTIVZ school. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that, just because they're just going to talk about the same things. And you know why we talk about the same things? It's because those same things work. And so if you really look at the people who succeed in life, it's really because it's not so much they have a secret sauce or they were blessed. I mean, let's face it, if you are an NBA basketball player, you did win the genetic lottery in most cases, that you're tall and you're incredibly athletic and things like that. So some people, let's face it, have some gifts and things that they're kind of born with. But the vast majority of people who have a degree of success in any walk of life basically do it because they're willing to do some things that are not mysterious. They might just be hard. They might be uncomfortable. They'll just keep doing it when it's not easy to do. We talked about the coaching from Sinead in terms of losing weight and getting in better physical shape. You know, whoever participates in that is probably not going to hear anything particularly new or mystifying or anything like that. And if you know, I've had a lot of experience in the weight loss category, and if you look, there's actually studies that when people keep a food journal and don't change anything else in their life, they just keep a food journal, mark down what they ate, when they ate, how much they ate, they lose weight. Because for the first time, they become kind of aware of what they're doing. And the person who says, I don't know why I'm not losing weight, I eat like a bird. And they keep a food journal, and they eat like a bird, all right, which means that they're eating all the time. They just didn't realize that they were eating all the time. And so, so I guess my point is here, I look at things like the people in Peru and many in Mexico who have to stand in line for hours to make deposits in their bank to buy the product. And I've thought to myself, and I've said to others, I don't think I would ever do that. If that was what we had to do in the United States to succeed, I just can't see myself doing that. And guess what? If that was my attitude about that or anything else, I wouldn't be successful. Some of you might be asking, I wonder how in the world, you know, Mexico's growing so much. What are they doing down there? Well, Ryan could probably speak to this better than I can, but I think I have a pretty good understanding. They're doing exactly what we talk about in the training. And they're doing it despite the fact that it's difficult, despite the fact that they have small children, they have people trying to raid their organizations and take people away. They have people falling out who once were active, and they just continue doing the basics. And I can speak from personal experience, the greatest amount of growth and the greatest amount of success that I've had is when I've consistently done things that were really difficult, but hung in there. And so when Ryan says back to basics, I think that's just wonderful advice. It's just, you know, if we want to achieve the success that others have had, either in network marketing or anything else, I think it's just wonderful advice. And again, not very novel or unique to say, what are other people doing, and follow them. And the principles that Ryan has really, I mean, he would also probably say that what because Ryan's largely been responsible with input from others, but I'll give him full credit for our training program and other things. And he might say, well, wait a minute, we have a lot more to do. There's other things we could do even better. And he's right. But Ryan has a tremendous amount of experience in this industry. And when he talks about the foundational principles of success, he knows what he's talking about. And all of us have seen that the people who make it are the ones that just do what he just talked about, you know, hanging in there during the holidays, continuing those activities, continuing to share, making a list every single day of what you're going to do, and holding yourself accountable. And also the one thing I think is maybe the forgotten, if there is a secret gem or secret principle that I think, in my experience, and Ryan might have a slightly different perspective, but I think it's that people lose sight of the most is we sometimes get so wrapped up in what I need to do, that we forget to look into our organization and say, okay, how can I help that person? And we kind of lose track of people within our organization where there could really be a lot of growth, and some of the challenges that you're experiencing you might be able to overcome by helping those deeper within your organization. But in any event, I'm also very excited about where we're at. I think that, you know, it's long been said that if you want to, that success leaves clues. And so if you want to be successful, follow those who have been successful in what you're trying to attain yourself. And all of you, by virtue of you being on this call, are willing to do some things that others aren't. And that says a lot about you. So your success will be based upon really two things. Three things, I guess. Receiving the knowledge that it takes to be successful, understanding the knowledge that you receive, and then most importantly, and I think we've got that covered, I think you've all received the knowledge, and I think you all understand it. And then the third thing is just doing it. And if you're still not achieving the success in the way that you'd like to, I think it's pretty simple. Re-examine. Do I really understand when they say these are the principles that do I really understand? Let's check yourself. And then being perfectly honest, am I really doing them? And am I doing them in, you know, am I confusing activity for accomplishment? am I making lots of lists, but I never make calls to the people on the list? Do I make lots of checkpoints of my to-do categories today, but I really don't. So I really don't follow up on it. I mean, I'm speaking from experience because these are some of the pitfalls I find myself falling prey to all the time. In any event, I just want to echo the words that others have said today and encourage us all to be receptive to coaching, but also take seriously our own charge to be coaches, leaders, and ultimately just friends and supportive people in the lives of others. So anyway, thanks for being on today. Have a great week. And Angie, back to you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you everyone for joining this call. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Just a reminder, due to the holidays, next Monday will be our last nightly call for December, and then we'll resume again in January. We will have our corporate call next week, so we hope to see you guys all next week. We'll probably cancel the following week due to the holidays, but we will have our corporate call next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Mountain. And don't forget to join us this Saturday for Active Schools and learn from the best in the industry. So we will see you guys next week. Thank you.
See you guys. Have a great day.
Everybody.